Hello and welcome to Hot Money Technicals on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gets you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts then. Kunal Rambia of The Streets along with Raja Venkatraman of Chart Advice and Brijesh Singh of Stock Axis are joining me on the show. Many thanks to all of my guests for joining me today. Before we begin with the show with the analysts, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on Union Bank of India. Good afternoon, Yash. What does the chart indicate?
Afternoon, Darshan. A bullish call coming in on Union Bank. We've seen most of these PSU stocks do extremely well over the last couple of weeks, Union Bank being one of them. But most importantly, it's the chart pattern that has formed over here that is what I want to highlight. So while the stock did move from the levels of close to around 60 to as low as 58, from the levels of upwards of 70 to as low as 58, the RSI made a higher low. Now, typically when the RSI makes a higher low, it indicates a bullish divergence in the stock, wherein the price is making a lower low, but the RSI is making a higher low. Now that indicates a potential reversal. So drawing a 61.8% retracement from its high of almost 86.5 to the low of 58, it comes up to almost around 71.8 or 72. That means at least another 10% upside from the current market price. It is quoting a flat to slightly in the negative in today's day of trade, but we've seen a strong rally and it should sustain, with this day being probably one of the one-offs. But Union Bank looks extremely bullish on the charts and something that you should watch out for in terms of the upside. Okay, thanks so much for that, Yash. 63.5 is where Union Bank is. What's your sense on this, Kunal?
So yes, the counter is looking very good, divergence on the weekly chart also, but I would think of buying near to the 60 mark because it has rallied a lot, and because today there seems to be some selling pressure in the market, so I would wait for the stock to correct near 59.60 and then accumulate.
Okay, what's your sense, Raja?
Yeah, though the PSU banking space is looking up, the overall chart structure of Union Bank appears to be weak. And the rise which we have seen in Union Bank has actually come to a trend line resistance around 63. Plus, if you take a look at the momentum, it has also risen to the neutral zone. So, overall setup indicates that we could witness some supply at this zone. So, it would better to be to buy at a little bit lower level towards in the region of 55 to 58.
Okay, and Brijesh, what's your sense?
There's no doubt the trend is looking positive, but as my fellow analyst has said, buy on dip strategy can be implemented because your risk reward ratio right now on the long side not in the favor. So somewhere around 58 to 60 if it trades, then one can go long with the stop loss of 55 and play for the target of 68 to 70.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Union Bank. Let's begin with the first round of chart, and it's with Kunal this time around. Ahead of the auto sales numbers, will start coming in from Sunday, is a chart on TVS Motors. It's actually managed to rally significantly, but what's your sense? Why are you bullish on the counter?
So now again, I'm looking at the weekly chart and I'm trying to find out some trend reversal pattern on the chart. So right from 2013 when it was trading in the zone of those 50s, from there it rallied up to 850 levels, and the recent correction what we are seeing, the present price has taken the support near to 61.8%. This is the Fibonacci golden ratio. Coming to the entire channel, which was made right from the top till the bottom, the stock managed to surpass this level on the higher side, could not sustain, but this is a second attempt to surpass the same. Now, in order to find out the trend reversal, I used Ichimoku charting. On Ichimoku charting, this turns out to be the cloud zone. Okay, and when you look at the straight line, this turns out to be the strongest resistance for time being. Stock tried surpassing this, but could not. It's the second attempt to go for the same. Stock is right now trading at 476. So, I am waiting for the counter to surpass 500 mark first.
Okay.
If at all it manages to cross 500 mark, I think that then the doors are open for 575, 600 mark also, and this can be a potential new trend reversal.
So you will buy only above 500, not at these levels. And at 5, it will go above the cloud.
Yes.
Okay, that's the trend. So at this point of time, you should not trade only above 500.
Yes, but it's near to that potential trend reversal zone, so it's definitely advisable to keep a track on the same. This turns out to be the strong support, and this turns out to be the resistance. And if someone is willing to look at the formation, then this can be a massive cup and handle formation also, where the neckline is placed at 500.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Kunal. Raja, what's your sense on TVS Motors?
Yeah, TVS Motors from the higher time frame structure still needs some more time to come up. But as a multi-day play, it's definitely looking good for a buy candidate, and the momentum indicators are suggesting that there is some recovery seen in this counter from lower levels somewhere in the region of 350 to 370 where it found good support. So I would be a buyer for a multi-day play. I would buy here, buy on dips to the region of around 460, place a stop loss below 450 for an upside towards 510.
Okay, and Brijesh, what's your sense on the counter?
See, no doubt the stock had moved from a level of 440 and after breaking the 200 simple moving average, and I has always prescribed the 200 simple moving have a weightage if you are trading. Yesterday, it has almost touched the 200 simple moving average on the weekly chart. That was somewhere around 488 and it made a high of 490, and after that we have seen a profit booking. Still, overall trend of the chart is positive. A downward channel slope trend line has been broken out. Buy on dips can be implemented. So I would be playing for on a long side. Any dip somewhere around 460 to 465 if it trades. Definitely one can go long with the stop loss of 445 and play for the target of 500 and 510.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the first chart. That is TVS Motors. Up next is Raja with his chart on LIC Housing Finance. Let's pull up the chart of late. Some of the NBFCs have done well. You can see the big rally from levels of 430 right up to 460. But on what parameters are you recommending a buy on this one?
Yeah, you can see here post its decline since June. The stock had begun to consolidate over the last 3 months. And what it has done during the period of consolidation is it has formed rounding patterns. So rounding patterns is a signal of some accumulation in progress. And this accumulation finally managed to edge out this gap area which I have highlighted here. So this gap area was confirmed with the recent strong move and the positive news which have been flowing in the NBFC space. So the positive news flow plus the chart formation and a steady higher low which has been formed, all put together suggests that this could be a good potential buy candidate. Along with that, I have used the momentum indicator of ADX, and here you can see here that the DMI line is now inching higher, which suggests that the bulls are definitely in play, and one could use this as a combination for a buy approach for the next few days.
Okay, so 464 is where it is currently. What's the ideal strategy?
Yeah, one could look to buy at current levels. One could use even dips towards the region of around 445 to 450 as a additional buying approach. Place a stop loss below 435 for an upside towards 497 and 525.
Okay, and you believe that the momentum rally will be quick, or it will be very, very slow and gradual?
Yeah, because see, there's a gap here. There was a gap here. This gap got filled, and there was a consolidation which progressed, and eventually the bulls were able to cover this gap as well.
Okay.
So all this in combination put this in a much better position.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Raja. Brijesh, is that something that you would agree to, LIC Housing?
See, I'll go with Raja's technical parameters. The higher lows formation indicates positivity for the chart, but only at this rate I would be avoiding. Somewhere around 445 to 450, definitely one can go long with the stop loss of 435. And my ideally target would be 200 simple moving average. That is somewhere around 475. But if someone has a view for a couple of months, then the target can be extended to the level of 520 around also. So being positive, one can go long on the dips.
Okay, what's your sense on this, Kunal?
So no, the way he highlighted, there is a gap that was of 22nd August. Today's formation on the chart is of a shooting star, so which clearly defines that there is a selling pressure on the counter. So I'll also wait for the counter to reach 445, which is his second strategy. Buy near 445 and then again wait for that one reversal sign where we can lead the rally. But the momentum is already picked up on the counter.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on LIC Housing Finance. Let's move up on the third chart, and that is something that Brijesh has on his chart. It's a chart on REC. Let's pull up the chart and see what it is. Why are you bullish on REC?
Sudarshan, if we take this is the weekly charts.
Okay.
So if we take the weekly charts, the stock has been making the high lows formation, first low, second low, and the third low.
Yeah.
The trend line breakout has been witnessed. Stock has been trading over this trend line. If we take a RSI generally, so it's been trading in the oversold zones with the double bottom formation somewhere around here, 37 around it's been quoting. So ideally one can go long because the trend line breakout has been witnessed. Higher lows formations on the daily as well as on the weekly charts indicates the trend to continue on the higher side. But at this juncture, 137 would be avoiding. Anything below somewhere around 134 around, if it trades, one can go long with the stop loss of 125. And my ideally target would be the first target. This is the first horizontal line. This is the first
155.
155. This is my first target I would be playing for. If we are able to give closing about this, then the second level to what would be this high, that is 170. Time frame for holding this counter would be 1 to 2 months.
So you would not buy now, only at 134 level to
Yes,
buy.
because your risk reward ratio would be in your favor.
What's the stop loss?
125.
120.
I would not be in a hurry because I think that there would be some consolidation and we might get at least 134 in this region.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Brijesh. Raja, what's your sense on REC?
Yeah, REC definitely is showing some inclination to move higher, but the higher time frame charts are still awaiting for some clarification. And if it moves, actually gives a closing about 140 is where I would be buying. So right now it's an avoid and wait and watch for my side.
Okay, what's your sense on this?
So now if I'm looking at the daily chart, there is a diametric correction pattern which is going on. So the range for that is 142 and 135. On the higher side 142, lower side 135. Whichever trigger comes first, I would go with that direction first.
Okay, so if it comes at 135, you would buy, and if it goes to 143,
So if at all it goes below 135, I'll start shorting. If at all it goes above 142, I'll think of buying. But in between, I would avoid.
you would avoid the counter. Okay, that's the view that's coming in on REC. Let's begin with the second round of charts. Kunal has a chart this time on HDFC Bank. The Bank Nifty is not doing well. It's down 250 points currently. HDFC Bank has been consolidating for late. Let's pull up the chart and see what's happening with HDFC. No doubt for the past 2 days it's managed to correct. But what's your sense? Is it a buy or a sell for you?
No, it's a sell recommendation. It's been a week since I'm waiting for the correction to come in. Last week it was ICICI which did not trigger out, but this time HDFC seems to be giving a clear lower trigger. What you can see is it's been almost 10 days the stock is under consolidation itself. One needs to remember this is a daily chart, so the time frame and the target is going to be very short term. We can see clearly that the stock was in the consolidation when the Bank Nifty moved up significantly. But yesterday was a first fall and today is a follow up on the same. If I look at the RSI, the prices were when they're making same top, RSI is making a lower top. That shows that the stock is losing out on the momentum. Coming back to the price chart, if I keep a trigger point of 1260 which came today morning itself, so keeping that level itself in mind, if the stock gives a closing below 1260, one can think of going short. 15 point stop loss on the higher side, it's going to be a trading bet, and on the lower side I expect the counter to reach down by say 30 points. That's 1230 first target.
For 1230, but it's not more of a positional call, is it?
So again, because the momentum on the weekly chart is still strong, I would revisit the counter at 1230 and will think of whether to carry the position.
So what's the ideal strategy? It's now 1260 and still there's time for it to close for almost 3.5 hours. So how should one play this?
So what one can do is one can think of selling near to 1260 itself, which is the current market price.
Okay.
Keep the stop loss of days high for time being.
Okay.
If at all that's triggered out, exit the counter. If the closing comes below 1260, keep the stop loss of 1275 and ride the rally on low.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Raja, what's your sense? He's given a one-day, he's given a very short-term trading strategy. But overall, what's your sense on HDFC Bank?
Yeah, I agree with Kunal on the negative sentiment displayed by HDFC Bank. But looking at the overall structure, the stock seems poised to move higher. So I would be happy to buy at lower levels around 1260. But I would not be a seller in HDFC Bank right now.
Okay, and Brijesh, what's your strategy?
Same what Raja has said. This at this juncture of time at 1260, your risk reward ratio is not in the favor of shorting side. No doubt, yesterday we have seen 1% roughly around correction. Rice should be used for going short as purely for the trading bet has been concerned. For a couple of days it's been looking. So somewhere around 1275 to 1280 if it trades, one can go short with a strict stop loss of 1295 and then look for the target of 1230 to 1235. But purely for a swing based trading.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on HDFC Bank. Raja has a chart on Tata Steel. Let's pull up the counter. Today, I think metals have lost the momentum. It's trading pretty much at low, but then nevertheless, there has been an indication of a price hike that could come in December by reports by JP Morgan as well as Goldman Sachs. But nevertheless, what's your sense? Is it a buy for you?
Yeah, definitely. You can see here the long phase of consolidation, plus the overall positivity which we are seeing in the metal space is definitely indicating that we could actually be looking at some upward traction in the metal after the recent phase of correction which we have seen. So the overall setup structure, using my moving average setup, I'm seeing that the stock has been able to sustain the selling pressure and move out into zone towards the end of October. And in the entire month of November, it has managed to stage a steady rise. And now you can see that steady buying interest has emerged. And plus, if you see the lower panel, the RSI is also seen reviving from the neutral zone. So putting together the price and momentum, the chart structure indicates that we could expect more upside in the coming days. So
Okay,
that's why
so-
I pointed it out as well.
Okay, for 424 is it where? So what's the ideal strategy one should follow?
Yeah, one can buy now. One can use dip towards say 415 418 to add more. Keep a stop loss below 410 for an upside towards 445.
And will this be a slow gradual move, because here the move was quite decent,
Here
but
the move
overall
was
it's
quite decent.
consolidating.
Now if market picks up, this being a leader, so you can even expect higher levels of 472 as well.
Okay.
Because the overall momentum is quite strong, so you can expect a strong move in this metal.
Okay, thanks for that. Brijesh, what's your sense on Tata Steel?
No doubt the stock had bounced from a level of 330, 335 zone on if we see a weekly chart. But right now at this juncture of 224, I would be avoiding. On a daily chart, we have seen higher bottom formation. But buy on dip strategy can be implemented. So my logic of going buy would be somewhere around 415 to 420 band. Stop loss would be 405, and I'll play for the target of 445.
Okay, short-term trade on that, and what's your sense, Kunal?
So again, you know, the metals, almost all counters rallied by almost 30% from the bottom. There was a positive divergence at that point of time. Right now, I think the momentum is losing out. Certainly, the long-term trend remains intact, but for time being, buying at this level, I would not really advise. I'll think of going long of near to say 405, 400 kind of zone, where the lower trend line support is also coming.
Okay, so risk-reward not favorable at this point of time. Buy on dips probably could be one of the strategies that you could implement on Tata Steel. I think a couple of our guests did indicate that the long-term trend certainly seems to be on the bullish side. And at least last chart for the day, again sticking back to the metal pack, and that is a chart on Hindalco, and that is what Brijesh has to talk on. Again, a buy call coming in on Hindalco. Why are you recommending a buy?
See, Darshan, if we look out the Hindalco chart, the stock has been trading in the range. This is a weekly chart, first of all. The upper side range is 208 around, and the lower band is 180 around. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, stock is quoting somewhere around 198, and my ideally buy level was below 201. So one sign is that when the stock has been trading in the range, and if we look out the RSI, the RSI has made the higher lows formation. If you check it out, the higher lows formation, which indicates the positivity for the chart. Even if we look out the volume on a weekly trend, which has been on the higher side. So all this summing up indicates the stock might touch the level of the target which I have mentioned, somewhere around 228 or 230 band. So ideally at this juncture of time at 197 or anything somewhere around 195 also, or present rate can be used for accumulation purpose. Stop loss would be 180 around. The target which I am looking, it would be 228 to 230. Time frame would be at least for a month or a couple of months.
Okay, just one query on what basis have you made these lines?
See, this line is a range bound. Why I have used 1, 2, and 3. The thrice it has
Made that top.
Yeah, and here the accumulation has been happened.
Yeah, and
the
229 one?
229 or 230 is the previous swings high where the supply has come up. So volume has to be compared. So that's the reason I have come up with this target, and this is the band which has been trading. The positivity was followed by the RSI. So this indicates the on the buy side, the trader as a trader we can look out.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Brijesh. Raja, what's your sense on Hindalco?
Yeah, considering the metal space, Hindalco is also looking to do well. Right now, it is in a trading range, but higher time frame chart suggests that it could witness a breakout from a symmetric triangle formation around 208. If it moves above 208, the momentum has already picked up, so it could actually travel all the way till 225. But till it crosses 208, I would be in a trading zone.
Okay, what's your sense on that?
Absolutely, you know, keeping the stop loss of 205, one can think of going short. Target can be 185. At that point of time, again going long with the stop loss of 180, target 205. Unless it comes out of zone, this trading zone can be an advantage for the traders.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Hindalco, and Yash is back with the second chart, and this time it's on Escorts again ahead of the auto sales numbers that will come out for the month of November. But Yash, what is the chart indicating?
It is looking weak right now, Darshan. It has been trading sideways for the last several trading sessions, but today we've seen some amount of weakness coming in. With that, on an intraday basis, the stock has managed to come off and come below the mark of the trender. The trender line, which is the one in green, is currently at about 640. The stock is also very close to around that mark. Should it close below that, we would see the trender line flip its color from green to red. Now, historically, it has worked very well, except for the last couple of times where there have been a few whipsaws here and there, but mostly it has been been highly efficient in terms of giving out right signals. But additionally, we are looking at the longer term charts as well of Escorts, and this is the weekly chart. And what is interesting to note over here is that it is meeting with resistance at the upper end of its trend line, and we are seeing that at higher levels there is selling coming in because of the higher upper shadows. Today too it opened higher, and then we've seen selling come in throughout the day. So there is weakness. The RSI too has topped out around the mark of 58 or 60. Multiple factors, the trender as well as the RSI and the trend line resistance, indicating that there could be further weakness coming in for Escorts.
Okay, that could come in. What's your sense, Kunal, on
So, you know,
Escorts?
I'm also betting on the weekly chart itself, saying that there are two shooting stars on the weekly chart. Keeping the stop loss of that high, that's in the zone of around 700, one can expect the target of 575 going forward.
Okay, and what's your sense, Raja?
Yeah, the weekly charts does indicate some weakness, but looking at the overall setup of RSI, I would not be a seller in Escorts right now. I would wait for more signals to emerge before I go for a shot.
And Brijesh?
No doubt the shooting star patterns on the weekly charts indicates the downtrend, but risk reward ratio is right now is not in the favor of going short. Price can be used for going short, and my level for going short would be somewhere around 660 plus with the stop loss of 685 and play for the target of 620. I'm not looking stock should break 600 level.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the counter. And before we end, let's talk about some of the stocks that are buzzing in trade. Bharti Infratel for one, yesterday rallied 15%. It's up another 5-6% today. What should one do? I think the futures are trading at a massive discount to the spot currently. Brijesh, Bharti Infratel, how does it look on the chart?
See, 240 was a strong support, so if someone wants to go long, keeping that thing as a stop loss on the higher size stock has a chances of going all the way to 280, 285. If we are able to surpass the level of 285, then the next level would be 300. So buy on dip strategy or the present rate can be used to go long, but keep a strict stop loss of 240 because it is a high volatile counter.
Okay, 240 strict stop loss. What's your sense, Raja?
Yeah, the charts is definitely indicating some positive momentum considering the news flow. So any dips towards the region of around 260, 255 would be a good strategy to initiate a buy. You could target 285 as the next resistance zone.
Okay, and what's your sense?
Between May to August, the stock was not able to surpass 280 mark. Today also we saw stock reaching up to 280 and again coming back to 272. I would avoid this counter for time being. Those who have already missed the rally, wait for the correction to come in and enter. But at this time, I would not think of going long.
Okay, Whirlpool is also one stock that we want to talk about. Let's pull up the chart and see how it's doing at this point of time. It's down almost 2.5%. Any sense on Whirlpool, Kunal?
Again, this counter has shown a significant weakness on the weekly chart, keeping the stop loss of high, which is in the zone of 2200. One can think of going short. I think the stock is topping out for time.
Topping out, Raja, is it stock topping out?
Yeah, the stock is definitely showing some weakness. So one should actually exit from this counter and look at lower levels around 1800 to 2000 to re-enter.
And Brijesh?
Overall trend is looking positive to me, so I have a contra call, so I would not be going short, but anywhere somewhere around 2050 to 2080 if it trades, then one can go long on it with a stop loss of 1950 and play for the target of 2300 plus.
Okay, and lastly, Page Industries is something that we want to speak about. Page Industries of late has managed to do well. It's down almost 2% right now. Raja, what's your sense on Page Industries?
Yeah, Page Industry witnessed a nice run to the upside over the last 1 month. But now the overall chart structure indicates that we could expect some more weakness. So the structure looks positive. It would enter into an oversold level somewhere in the region of around 20,000. So that's where one should actually look to buy it. So you could actually short it at current levels with a stop loss about 2250.
Brijesh, would you short Page?
No, I would be. I have a contra call. I would be going long in it, but somewhere around 21,500 zone. Your stop loss would be 20,600 and look for the target of 23,000 plus.
And what's your sense?
So in the last 4 weeks, we saw decisive selling, and this week is turned out to be a doji formation, which shows indecisiveness in the present fall. So I would think of waiting for a week. If the next week turns out to be bullish, keeping the stop loss of this week low, I would think of going long again.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Page Industries. But with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of Hot Money. Let me thank all my guests who've come in today, Brijesh, Raja, as well as Kunal. Thank you so much for coming in today. Ask BQ comes up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.